Hey everyone, welcome back from Thanksgiving break. I hope you guys took the time to relax a little bit, clear your mind from the college work. I know for me this Thanksgiving break, this Thanksgiving was certainly different. Less people, and I can imagine you guys all staying safe and not having huge family gatherings, which is a bummer. Um, I'm a really big family person, so not being able to do that was hard, but it's better for everybody. So so the break is over. So let's get back. It's back to get back to work. It's only 2 weeks left of school. So this week is Amnesty Week for QR, and you also have assignment due on Sunday. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about that today. So let's get started. So in the previous weeks, we talked about the differences between a good graph and a bad graph. We talked about how to describe a graph, the different ways of describing different types of graphs. Today, we're going to go a step further and talk about how to create different types of graphs using data, obviously. But before that, some announcements before we start with this week's topic. Um, Again, like I mentioned, this week we're having the QR Amnesty Week, which is going on from today, November 30th, to December 6th, which is a Sunday. It'll be open until um, December 6th by 11:59 p.m. You'll be able to submit one quiz and one QR assignment that you missed or you want to redo, right? And you will receive a maximum of 75% of the grade, right? So if you get all the answers right on a quiz, you get 75%. Or if you get all the components correct in an assignment, you get up to 75%. The reason is because the students that did it on time, if they complete it correctly, they get the 100%. But 75%, if you missed a quiz or an assignment, is better than a zero. Now, where is this located? If you go to Quantitative Reasoning Information and Tasks, you go to the second folder, Assignment and Quizzes, you will see that everything's open. I opened up all the quizzes. I opened up all the assignments. Remember, for the quizzes, you only get one try, right? So if you did it before, I open it up for you again. But it's not like you could go back and keep on retrying them over and over again, right? So choose wisely. Make sure you choose the quiz that you're the most comfortable in, right? Make sure you watch the videos, right? The videos are located right here. Video links. Watch the appropriate videos, right? Whichever you're the most comfortable with, make sure then complete the quiz for that, right? Because you only get one quiz that you could retry. Um, and if you perform worse, if you're redoing an assignment or a quiz, right? If you're redoing an assignment or quiz and you perform worse on this one, then I'll count whatever you got highest in. So if you did higher before, an assignment that you did before, a quiz you did before, um, and you want to retry that, but this time you get a lower score, I'm going to count the higher one. Don't worry about that. But for a lot of you that missed one of the quizzes or assignments, this is an opportunity to make up some points for it, right? 75% is a lot comparatively, right? So make sure you do that. And so all the quizzes are here. You'll get 45 minutes for each quiz. You'll get 45 minutes, so it's the same protocol for all of them. The last one's the only one that's multiple choice, so you don't have to show any work for this one. You don't have to hand in any work, but the rest of them, it's the same drill where you write all your answers on a notebook or a piece of paper. You take pictures of it and you submit that um, on 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 the quizzes, right? And if you have a trouble with that, like always, you could email me your quiz, but make sure you email me your work within that 45-minute time period, right? Because I could see when you started the quiz, and if you started the quiz at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you send me an email at 2 o'clock later in the afternoon, I'm not going to count it because it's way past the 45 minutes, right? So make sure if you're doing that, if you can't submit it on Blackboard and you're emailing it to me, make sure it's within that 45 minutes, right? And for the assignments, you have unlimited time for that. They're just assignments. You could do any one of them, right? One, and you submit that. Now, assignment 4, this one is the new one, right? That's for this week. That's going to be due this Sunday, right? I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the amnesty week is predominantly for these 3 assignments right here. And your grades should be up for all 4 of these quizzes and assignments 1, 2. I didn't finish grading assignment 3, but if you think you didn't do that well and you want to redo it, you can take a chance and do that. If you already completed assignment 1 and 2, but if you have assignment 1 or 2 missing, and you want to submit one of those 2, or you want to get a better grade, I suggest you do that. And for the other ones, the quizzes, you should know what your grades are for that. Furthermore, if you haven't given in your integrated assignment 2 outline that was past due in November 22nd, make sure you submit that ASAP, right? Those are points towards your integrated assignment 2, right? If you haven't done it yet, make sure you do it. That will be located right here. You click on integrated assignments, you click on integrated assignment 2, and then right here, your outline. You explain your theme, you explain your topic, you explain your research question, you provide 2 data sets, remember, as part of the QR component, so make sure you read the guidelines and watch the previous video where I went in depth about the QR component of integrated assignment 2, specifically that part 1. Make sure you do that, right? And also mention, I forgot to write it here, we forgot to write, mention to write who is doing what component or who is doing what part of the project in your group, right? So we just want to know how the work is being distributed. Okay, assignment 4, which we're going to be talking about at the end of this video, that's going to be due on the 6th, and then you have your weekly discussions, right? For the students that are not submitting this, remember this is attendance points. Every time you give a discussion thread, right, all you have to say is basically what you feel about this week's video. That's it, right? It's kind of like commenting on a YouTube video, but you're doing it in a discussion thread. That's all you got to do, and you get points for that, right? So I don't understand why you would choose not to do that, because you're not gaining points, and every point adds up. So if you don't choose to do it, you're just getting a lower QR average, which makes a overall lower city seminar average. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're getting the discussion threads in for QR. All right, so let's talk about creating graphs. Now, in order to create a graph, in order to create a graph or a table or a chart, you need some data. So here is some data that I compiled, right? Now it looks very familiar. Remember, this is from one of the assignments that I gave previously, right? This looks at the number of students in district schools in New York City, outside of New York City, in charter schools in New York City, outside of New York City, and private schools in New York City and outside New York City for several years, right? From school years 2000 2001 all the way up to 18 to 19. So the last school year that we had the complete data for. That's all here. Now, if you want to follow along, I will send you a link with this data on the actual not the YouTube page, the Blackboard. So let me show you where that's going to be located. So right after I finish recording this, I'm going to post it right here in quantitative reasoning, video links and worksheets. Right, it's going to be the last one right here that says creating graphs. So there's going to be a section that's going to say dataset, right? Module 11 QR dataset. And there's going to be a link there, kind of like the Spotify link, that will link you to this data right here, so you can follow along while I'm doing it. You could do it as well, right? You get a hang of it. And the reason I'm using Google Sheets is and oh yeah, so when you get this, right, when you open up this link, just copy and paste it into your own Google Sheets, right? Don't work on. I don't think you'll have the ability to. I'll share this link, but I don't think you could write on it. So just highlight, highlight, right click, just copy it, and paste it to your own Google Sheets. And the reason I'm using Google Sheets is I'm a huge fan of Microsoft Office and Microsoft Excel, and if we were in person, I would have had you guys use that because there's so much more you could do on Microsoft Excel but we're not in person, so I can't really see if everybody has access to Microsoft Excel. I would have taught you guys how to download it and went step by step on accessing that and whatnot. But I think most people are familiar with Google Sheets. You guys probably used it in high school, and it's a little bit more user friendly and a bigger learning curve with this one than Microsoft Excel. So maybe in the future, in a future video, I'll teach you guys more about it. But for the time being, let's work with Google Sheets, right? So remember when we talked about the different types of charts, right? We talked about pie charts. We talked about bar or column, in some cases column charts, and then we talked about line graphs, and we talked about histograms. Now, histogram. We're not gonna really talk about histograms here. I'm pretty sure you guys learned a lot about histograms in your stats class, in your statistics class. So I'm gonna not reiterate what your professor already taught you. So and the data that we have right now, it doesn't work really well with histograms. So I'm gonna not display that, but I will talk about these three, and I'll show you guys how to create these three types of graphs in this video: pie, bar slash column, and line graphs. So let's start with the first one, pie charts. So let's say you want to create a pie chart of district schools, district schools inside New York City, district schools outside New York City, charter schools within New York City, charter schools outside New York City, private schools within New York City, and private schools without outside of private New York City for the year 2000 to 2001. Right now, that was a mouthful, right? What I just said was a mouthful, right? So what do I expect? Remember when I said that whenever you're creating graph, right? I think I said in an older video, or if I have it, I'm gonna say it right now. Whenever you're creating a graph, you should have an idea of how the graph should look like, somewhat, right? You should have a somewhat idea of how the graph is supposed to look like, right? The numbers might not be exactly correct in your head, right? But that's what Google Sheets is for, right? Getting the number part right. But the image should be correct, right? So let's, before we even create the graph, let's create an image of what this should look like, okay? Now I'm going to use Paint for this. Let's see. All right. Yep, it doesn't write with my finger, so I'll write with the pen. So what are we creating? We're creating a pie graph. So how do a pie graph looks like? It's essentially a circle, right? It's essentially a circle with slices, right? So let's draw some slices. Oops. How do I go back? Back. Right. So let's use the pen tool. Change the size. So that's what I'm expecting. Something. Wow, this is definitely not in the center, but you guys get the point, right? So something like that, right? So what is this, what are each slice supposed to represent? So one of them is supposed to be, and I'm going to use different colors. Let's say red. Red. And remember, the pie's slice doesn't have to be accurate. It's just the idea. This is what we're supposed to be seeing. This is supposed to be district, school in New York City, right? Next one. So okay, I think I have an idea. This is dark red. District, schools outside New York City, and then let's say light blue. This is, oops, not that. So we have charter and then private. Okay, so this is, let's say, charter New York City, and then I'm going to choose dark blue. This is charter outside. Excuse my handwriting, New York City, but I'm pretty sure you guys get the point, right? So it's supposed to look like this, something like this, right? And let's do purple for private. right? So dark purple for private in New York City, and light purple for private outside New York City. So essentially, we want to see a pie. Let me see if I can move this up. The pie looks so I can get into the screen. All right, we want a pie. The pie is supposed to have 6 slices, and remember, this is supposed to be for the year 2000. I want it in black. So let's choose black. Year. This is for year 2000 to 2001. It's supposed to be a pie with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slices. That's what we're expecting to see, right? Again, the distribution of the slices, the size of the slices are probably not going to be this exact one, but this is what we're supposed to be seeing. So let's see if we could create something similar to this, right? So now we want to create a pie chart for this first year, 2000 to 2001, right? So it doesn't make sense to look at all of this right here. It doesn't make sense to look at that. Let's focus on this right here, right? Now, if I highlight these numbers, if I highlight these numbers right now, in order to create a graph, you click Insert, Chart, and where's your chart? Okay, so this is not a pie graph, right? First instinct, not a pie graph. What we want is a pie graph. So we look at chart type, look for what we want. We want a pie, and that looks weird, right? That's not the pie we want. Our pie is supposed to have 6 slices. This is one blue slice, right? So something's wrong here. So we go back, right? Let's try these different buttons. Switch rows. We get 6 slices, do we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this green one? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get 5 slices here, right? We still don't get 6, so something's not right. Maybe this one. Nope, not doing anything, right? So something's not right here, right? And I'm showing you guys the wrong way of doing it, obviously, because we're not telling the computer what to label, right? We're giving them numbers and expecting the computer to understand what we want from it, right? We're just giving them numbers, and telling them, hey, just take these numbers and make something out of it, right? Make a graph out of it, and they're not going to understand that. What we want to do is we want to make sure we're labeling the right things, right? Now, the computer doesn't necessarily need to know what year it is. We, as the users, and we as the creators of the graph, need to know that. If you remember, this year 2021 is not within this pie chart, right? I just typed that out in the end, to remind myself that this pie chart is representing the year 2000 to 2001. So there's no point in highlighting that for now, right? Because that's not in the pie chart. Also, okay, so let's say I just highlight the numbers then, and not the year. Insert, chart, chart type, pie. Again, it's just blue, so maybe switch columns and rows. Okay, so we get a couple of slices, right? But now what does this represent, right? What does each of the colors represent? We have no idea, right? Now this says use column B as header. This is column B, doesn't make sense. Remember, headers is a label, right? So we're not going to use that, right? Use row 4 as label. This is row 4. That's not going to make sense either, right? So let's think, what do we do wrong now, right? We gave the computer all these numbers, but it won't tell us what these numbers are supposed to be representing, right? So let's click here, delete it, right? If you have trouble deleting, I think if you click these 3 dots, delete chart, that'll delete it as well, right? So that didn't work. Selecting all the numbers, including the year, didn't work. Selecting all the numbers without the year didn't work. What about we tell the computers that the labels and the year, right? So I'm highlighting everything here, right? Clicking and highlighting, right? Insert, chart. Oh, this looks a little promising, right? This is giving us a nice column chart, but we want a pie. Look at that, right? This tells us that district schools outside take up 59%, district schools within take up 31%, and so on and so forth. This breaks it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of them is missing. Which one is missing? Private schools outside, charter schools outside, charter schools inside is missing. And the reason why that's missing is because it's not really missing. It's really small. It's like within there, right? It's within there. It's less than 0.1%, right? So what, unfortunately, what Google Sheets does is any number, any percentage in a pie chart that's less than 0.1% or less than there's like a threshold, it won't label it. It will be in the graph, but it will not label it because it's so small it doesn't make a difference. So for that case in point, I think we could leave it the way it is. But if you want to customize your pie chart, there's various ways to customize it, right? And you can mention that actually in your description. You can mention that charter schools inside New York City, you'll see that's the smallest number out of all of them when you look at it, right? It's the smallest number for this year. You can mention that in your description that the number of students that attended charter schools within New York City is so small compared to all the other numbers and all the other districts, that this is negligible essentially, right? Now let's look at the chart style. You can maximize it, right? This doesn't really tell us much, right? This doesn't tell us the percentages. You can make it 3D, right? Looks pretty cool. You could also chart pie chart. You could have a donut hole in it, right? I think that's interesting. Some people like it. I, I it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, if you are gonna use it, probably 50%, no more than that. Slice label. Let's look at the labels. Labels percentage. I like that. Tells us the percentage here, right? But it's kind of redundant. The percentage is right here, and then having it over here doesn't really make sense, right? So maybe the value, right? Telling us the value, that kind of helps too, right? Telling us the exact number along with the percentage right here, that kind of helps, right? Again, you can make it bold so everybody can see this. You can't really see it because it's really small. Let's see, value and percentage. Yeah, see, that's weird. Doesn't show for all of them. So it gets a little finicky when you mess around with some of them. So don't freak out if you see these things. It's a learning experience, right? So play around with it. Yeah, what I don't like the fact that it doesn't say everything outside of New York City. I wanted to label everything. So let's see how we could fix that. But for the most part, I think it's understandable what this says. This says private school outside New York City, private schools inside New York City, charter school outside New York City, private district schools outside, district schools inside. So now, notice how Google Sheets actually recognize, even without us highlighting, recognize that this is for the year 2000 to 2001, right? That's pretty cool. Now, if it didn't do that, the way we would label this, right? Because this does not have a proper title, the way we would do that is we go to chart and access titles, right? We go select chart title, title text, right? So this would be student distribution amongst different schools for uh, for year 2000 to 21, right? Or during, not for. Student distribution amongst different schools for the year 2000, between 2000 and 2001, right? So that would be what this pie chart is showing us, right? Pie/donut chart, I guess you could call it. Now you could have fun with this. You guys, if you want practice, you could do that for a different year, see how that looks, see if it comes clean. But again, remember, the idea is it should have looked something like this: 6 slices, right? The reason we see 5, or essentially 4, because these are so small, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. These are so small, that's why you don't really see it. But they're there, right? And that's what we want to see. So that's how you create a pie chart. So next, I'm going to delete this. Right, let's talk about, oh, by the way, not even deleting it, right? Remember, for the assignments, you're going to have to copy and paste these charts, right? So it's very easy. Just copy, right click, should be able to copy this. Yep, so these 3 dots right here, copy chart, and then open up your Word document. When you submit, you don't have to give this to me, this is classwork, but I'm talking about for assignment for later on when you create graphs. You're gonna copy and then right click, paste it, and your graph will be here, right? Then you'll have to write a description. So whatever your description is, you write it right here, right? So back to our Google Sheet. Let's talk next about bar and column charts. So let's say we want to make a column chart, and the difference between bar and column chart in Google Sheets is essentially how the orientation of the graph is, right? A column chart is vertical, a bar chart is horizontal, and I'll show you what that means in a second in a visual way. But let's say I want to make a column chart for something similar, right, as the pie chart. Column chart of the different types of schools, right, for the year 2018 to 2019, right? So again, I want to create a bar chart of all of these, right? All of these numbers, right? So I expect to see 6 bars for the year 2018 to 2019, and each of the bars should be labeled as such, right? So let's go back to our paint, and we don't need this, so let's make a box around this. Right click, delete. All right, so let's erase that bit. Right, so what we expect to see is a bar graph, a column chart, excuse me. So that's going to look something like this. So let's create our axis first. Right, there's our axis. Right, this is going to be, let's see, what are the numbers range from? So our numbers go from, that we're doing this year, so the highest is about 200, 300, 300,000, right? No, 950,000. Wow, it goes up a lot, right? The smallest is 28,000 to 950,000, almost, right? So again, the idea is this is 0. Oops, this is 0. This goes up to, let's say, 100, a million. Wow, really? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? Because I think the highest was 900. Yeah, 950,000. So, and then some in between. This is going to be 500,000, and so on and so forth, right? The labels they'll do, right? Now I expect 6 rectangles, right? Again, the heights are going to be different. So one red, one dark red, one, let's say, orange, one yellow, one green, and one blue, right? And again, like I said, the heights are going to be different. It has to do with actual numbers, right? But the idea is this: you should see 6 rectangles, and each of the 6 is supposed to represent your different schools, right? And it doesn't have to be in this particular order, but this is going to be, let's say, district in New York City. This is district outside New York City. This is, what was the other one? Charter, I think, yeah. Charter, New York City, charter outside. I think you guys are getting the hang of this. I don't have to keep on writing this over and over again. Private, New York City, private, outside, New York City. Right, so I expect to see something like this, right? And this is for the year 2018 to 2019. Right, this is what when we create the graph, this is what it should look like. So let's get started on creating this. So, like always, we're going to try to highlight. Let's try to highlight like last time. Let's try to highlight with the year. Let's see what it gives us. Insert, chart. This one we want column chart. Okay, so I selected. This looks weird. We have no idea what the heck we're looking at. All of them are under one label. None of them are labeled. They're different numbers, so on and so forth. So we do see six. So we do see six columns, right? So that part's right. So we see six rectangles, right? And just to tell you guys the difference between them. That's what a bar chart is. It's just the orientation is different, but the idea is the same, right? So I'm just gonna stick to column. So that's not right, right? It's labeled weird. So maybe try without the year, right? Because we know it's a year, right? Maybe we don't have to tell them that. Let's insert chart. Okay, that gave us something. Are these numbers even right? Right. First one is 900,000, about 950,000, so that's about right. Wow, I was way off. The highest number was over a million, over 1.5 million. So I was way off. So whatever. So, but the idea is, so you get six. Okay, so that's right. So now we need to somehow tell Google Sheets what each of these labels are for, right? What are they labeled as, right? Now let's see if we have switch columns and rows. That doesn't really help us. Use row 10 as header. No, because those aren't labels. Use column B as labels. No, because those are all different numbers. So what do we do? Now, there's two ways of doing this. We know this is the label right up here. And we know these are the numbers that we want to use, right? So one way you could do it is highlight this. Hold Control if you're using a Windows, or Command CMD if you're using a Mac, and highlight this as well at the same time, right? This should work. So let's try insert chart. Yep, it worked. And I wish they were different colors, but they're not. I'm pretty sure there's a way to customize it to be different colors. But for the time being, I'm just gonna leave it. As long as it gives us the right data, that's all that matters to me for now. The labels are completely wrong. This is not the school year. This is not 2018 2019. The title, that doesn't really tell us much, right? So I'm going to delete this for now. Reason is because if you have trouble with that highlighting both of them, right, easier way is just copy and paste it, right? So this, I'm going to copy this right here. Let's say I paste it, and then I'm going to copy this as well because I know this is what I'm working with. Paste it as well, and now I will highlight this, insert chart, gave us the same exact thing, right? Now this should not say school year. This should say type of school. This is not a year. These numbers represents number of students attending or registered, whichever, right? Registered. And the title should be comparison of student registration or registration, right? Registration for different schools types. Right, so different school categories. So you have your type of schools, you have your number of students, and you have your title, right? So very similar to our chart. I wish it was a little bit more colorful, and this should be 1.5 million, I guess, right? So on and so forth. But oh yeah, between this year, right? That's a good catch. During 2018 to 19. Right, if it let's change the position to be centered. Right, that's over here. Title format, so on and so forth. I could make this bold if I want. Right, titles are usually bold, so that's how you would have it for a bar graph. Now let's say I wanted to compare it to 2 different years, right? So let me leave this down here. Close this. Now let's say I wanted to compare 2018 to 2019 with, let's say, this 2000, right? So this data set, let's say I want to compare. So right now what we're creating is a it's a multi-bar graph, right? So this is your data for the 2 different school years, right? So this is what happened. It changed. I'm gonna change this, right? So we're gonna be comparing these 2 years, right? And there's a couple of ways of seeing how we could do it. So let's look at these different types of multi-column chart, right, or multi-bar graph. So as you noticed, I copied and pasted because I didn't want to highlight multiple different rows. I just want to be able to highlight everything all together. So I'm going to tell the computer that this shows the data between different types of schools for 2 different years. So I just highlighted those, right? But before we started, how do you think this will look like, right? Well, there's 2 ways that this could look like, right? And we're gonna kind of draw them out on Paint now. So on Paint, we had this initially, right? Now this was for the year 2018 to 2019, right? Now we're looking at also 2000 to 2001. So we have to somehow fit in the second set of graphs, right? Now we already established, right, that Google Sheets makes them all one certain color, and it's probably for the better, because as I'll show you guys, let's delete this. Delete. So we have these 4 types of charts, so I'm going to make them again really quickly, and let's all make them the same color. Let's all make them red, right? So this is red, 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 let's say, right? And let's say red represented 2018, 2019, right? And then blue represented 2000, 2001. So let's say this was blue, this was blue, this was blue, this was blue. So right here we have those 2 years, right, represented by different colors, right? The columns names are the same, right? Column names are the same, but each of the bar colors represents different year, and Google Sheets should be able to do that for us, right? So that's one way that we could represent it. The other way is we don't do different colors. I'll actually show you that instead of drawing it, right? I like this way more because it's much more clean looking. So let's look at how we might be able to create this. And let's see if Google Sheets does this, right? Plays out whatever we want on our head. In our head, this is what we're imagining it should look like. So let's see if Google Sheets is able to do that. So let's highlight, insert, chart. Nice, right? And it does the same exact colors. Coincidentally, it does the same colors that I was just doing, blue and red. With the blue being, it's actually flipped what I had. I had blue as 2001 and red being 2018 to 2019, and this had it flipped, but it's okay. The idea is the same. So this shows us in 2001, we actually had more schools all across the board, except for charter schools and inside and outside. Why is that? Let's see if that looks right. Is there more charter schools? Yep, there's a lot more charter schools in New York City now than there was in 2000. So that makes sense. That's about right. And you could tell, you could see it increases a lot right up here. It increased, the number of charter schools increases a lot as the years go by. So that's fine. But overall, there was more schools in 2000 than 2018. So there's a lot of school closings except for charter schools that opened up. Now we'll work with this. What I was mentioning about the other way is again, right, sometimes you gotta play around with these buttons right here, right? The switch arrow, switch rows, columns, set column as header. Then it actually sometimes it fixes it for you, right? So if I didn't do that, let's say I uncheck this box, what does it do? This is the other type of graph I was talking about. This shows us two separate graphs, right? Very similar to what we had before, right? This is our first graph, and this is the second graph of a similar data set, right? But looking at 2000 to 2001, right? And now the different colors, that's why I had different colors. Now I remembered when I created this, the different colors represented the different districts, right? And the reason they're different colors now is so we could compare them. Before, they were all the same color because we weren't comparing them to different years. In the previous graph, it was just one. It was just between 2018 and 19. That's why they were all the same color. But now we're comparing them to two different years. That's why they're two different. There's multiple colors, right, between them. So this is a one whole set of graphs for 2018. This is one whole set of graphs for 2000s, and showing us the differences, right? But I actually like this one more. It's a little bit more cleaner looking, and again, we could start labeling, right? This was, as you guys know, different types of schools, right? Here, the vertical axis is missing, so we're going to have to change that vertical axis right here. We want that number of students registered. Oh, it remembers for us, right? Number of students registered, title. Let's see if it remembers. So comparison. So here would be comparison of student registration in different school types for two separate. I guess we don't even have to write that, right? Comparison, and it tells us right here. The legend tells us that the two different colors are, right? This shouldn't say school year. It should say type of school. Type of what's happening? Type of school. So that's what this is showing us. This is a nice multi-bar graph, right? And the reason I showed you this is because you will need to know how to do this for the next assignment, right? Now, finally, let's look at our last type of graph, line graphs. All right, so the last type of graph that we'll be discussing, and I know this is a long video, so take breaks in between. I should have probably mentioned this earlier, but take breaks in between while watching this, is a line graph. Now, line graphs usually tell us, numerical versus numerical, so it's not really a category. We don't look at one specific category for a line graph. But let's say we want to look at the district schools, right? District schools in New York City, and we want to see, as you can just look at it, the numbers of district schools just decrease throughout the years, right? So we're expecting something. So let's delete this. Move it out the way, right? And this aren't the labels anymore, but I'm going to leave them up here for a reason, right? There's a reason why I'll leave that. And down here it should be the years. So I'm going to say 2000 to 2001, and then what are the other years? 2003, 2004, 6 to 7, 8, 9 to 8, 9 to 10, 12 to 13, so on and so forth, all the way up to 2018 to 2019, right? So let's say look at district schools. That's dark red, right? That should be kind of decreasing, right? You're see a decreasing line, and so it should be going down from my perspective, from my understanding of the table. That's what I'm supposed to be seeing. So let's see if we could create something similar to that on Google Sheets. So let's try first just highlighting the numbers. If we highlight the numbers, we click Insert, Chart, right, we see a column. Nice, it's decreasing, so we know it's in the right track. Maybe that, right? District schools, they know I'm talking about district schools without even me highlighting. That's pretty good. And it's showing us a decreasing trend, right? Here, mine went up all the way to 0. Obviously, we don't have 0. The lowest number is 948,000, right? So that's why it's still up here, right? But it's going down. So we're on the right track, right? But the years aren't here. The years are not here. Why? Because we did not tell them that those are the years. So let's do that. So let's highlight the years, highlight the school district. We just want to look at the school district within New York City for now. Let's see if this works. Chart. Whoa, that looks weird. We don't want a column chart. We want a line chart. And see, this is giving us two separate lines. We don't want two separate lines. We just want one line. So what is happening? Maybe we use column A as labels, right? So the column A is representing the years. Maybe we want to label that. Yep, that worked, right? That labeled as the labels. Where's the rest of the data? Where's 2018? So see, it worked somewhat, but not all the way. So something's not right. Maybe switch rows and columns. No. Maybe not. Maybe header. No. So there's a bunch of things happening. For some reason, it's not working, and I'll explain that to you in a second. But we played around. I just want to let you guys that we played around with everything, right? This treat labels as text. Oh, that fixed it. Yeah. Oh wow, I jumped ahead, right? So what happened, right? These are numbers, right? So instead of Google Sheets seeing these as numbers, we want them to understand that these are actually words, right? We want to see them as words, as labels, right? These are years. We don't want them to see it as numbers because that could get confusing, right? Are they doing 2000 minus 1? Are they doing 2003 minus 4? Are they doing 2006 minus 7? What does that even mean to Google Sheets, right? So Google Sheets needs to know what these are. So what I did was I treated them as labels. So I went to the horizontal axis, and then I treated them as labels, right? And then I do if I want to reverse order, but it makes no sense to reverse it, right? And so now we know what this is, right? And we can start labeling them. We could say this is the year. So where is axis titles, right? The horizontal axis is the year. The vertical axis is number of students registered, and the title is student registration at district schools, New York City. Right, student registration at district schools, district with a T. Right, district schools, New York City, and it shows us throughout the years. Now, let's say I want to look at all of them. Right, so that's how one of them looks like. Let's say I want to look at all of them. So how would I label that? So let's highlight everything. What happened? Highlight everything, insert, chart, weird looking. That's not what we want. We want a line chart. So let's click line. Again, we expect something like that, right? I guess. But again, the labels are weird. Use column A as labels. Okay, it's labeling it, but it's not labeling it how we want it to. Customize horizontal axis. We want to treat this as a text. So that's what we have. Now we want we don't even know what each of these colors stand for, right? So use row 4 as header. No. What did we do last time? I think we had highlighted the, so let me delete this. I think we had highlighted the name as well. So let's highlight everything. Let's highlight everything. Insert chart. And I hope you guys are understanding the mistakes in each step, in the sense that it's not what we're expecting to see, right? What we're trying to create right now is a different color for each type of school, right? Let's say, oops, this should be purple. Let's say purple and this dark blue, something like that, right? And we're expecting multiple lines of different color to pass through. So we're expecting 6 lines altogether. So there's a lot of information in there, a lot of information, but that's what we're expecting to see. 6 lines, most of them going downwards, and they're supposed to all be different colors. But we're getting close to that. So let's see if we could get something similar, right? This is nice. This is a nice multi-bar graph. Remember, we created something similar. Each one of those colors represents different. If we don't switch this, again, nice, but not what we're looking for. We're looking for a line graph. Again, very close to what we want, right? But it doesn't go all the way up to 2018, 2019. So we go to customize, and you don't have to always do this. Sometimes it's like that whenever you have these dashes. But if you don't have the dashes, usually it works out. Treat as label, nice. So we have our graph right here. Right, school year, make sure you label, when you're doing this, make sure you label the vertical axis, give it appropriate title, right? Title could be like student registration for different types of schools throughout within 20 years, right? Within the first 20 years of 2000. So that would be a title like that, right? And each different colors represents a different type of schooling. So this is nice, right? This is exactly what we were expecting. What increased was charter schools. Remember, we saw that. We kind of discovered that while we were reading this table. The charter schools increased, and we see that the yellow is a charter school inside New York City, so that's increasing right here. The charter schools outside New York City is also increasing, but everything else is on the decreasing end, right? So that's the trend that we see, right? The trend that we see is decreasing schools for all types of schools except for charter schools, both in and outside of New York City. So that's something that we would see. So that's it for creating line graphs. bar/column graphs and pie charts. Now let's talk about assignment 4. Remember, assignment 4s can be found in the QR assignments and quizzes, right? That's also due the Sunday. But if you're gonna work on the Amnesty Week assignment, so try to get one of those out the way first, and then work on assignment 4. Or if you prefer to do this one first, right? If you're seeing that you're running out of time and you want to make sure you get this on time, work on this. So let's open this up. So here we have our assignment 4. Due on the 6th by 11:59. That's coming Sunday. If you're watching this today, that's the Sunday coming up. Here we have some data on different types of. It's a police data from New York PD. It's the different types of crimes that are reported, from murder, rape, robbery to felonies, burglary, grand larceny, and grand larceny auto. So there's a lot of data here, right? What we're going to mainly look at is this middle section right here. Now we're not looking at the change, although the change is really good. Change is it's really important in understanding the later questions. But what we're going to make the graphs out of is this right here. So what you should be able to do is just click this, right click, copy it, be able to open up an Excel sheet, a Google Excel sheet, right? And I'm not going to open up a new one, but you should be able to. I'm just going to do it in the same one right here. And just right click, paste it. Yep, and it should be right here, right? You should be able to copy and paste it, right? Now I'm going to tell you, when you're inserting graphs, when you're making graphs in this one, right, one of your best friends is going to be the switch rows and columns, especially for these ones, right? I'm not going to show you how to make the graphs for these. You guys, if you follow the steps of the video, you should be able to make it. But one of the key differences in between these two is that the years are in different rows and the categories are in different columns, whereas in this one the years are in different columns and the categories are in different rows. So that switch tab that I had showed you guys earlier, switch columns and rows, is going to come in handy in this specific assignment. So that's a hint I'm giving you guys. And on a piece of paper, draw it out. Draw out what you think the graph is supposed to look like. That helps a lot. Draw out before you actually try to make it. That way you have an idea of what it's supposed to look like. What you're going to be doing is using this data set, right? Complete the following task. For each of the tasks, copy and paste the graph into the Word document, right? Whatever Word document you're writing. Make sure you write your name on the Word document. I get a lot of Word documents with the same name. It just has assignment 4. When you save it, put your name on it, and also on the document itself, put your name on it, right? So I know it's from you. So make sure you do that. So for each task, copy and paste, and a brief description of the graph, 1 or 2 sentences for each of the graphs that you create. That's what I'm expecting. Now, what are the 4 tasks that you're looking at? It's 3 main tasks, and then the 4th one is a description type thing. Task 1, create 2 pie charts using the distribution of all the crimes reported in 1990 and 2019. So going back to our data, so you're going to be looking at all of them, not including the total, right? Not including the total, because that will screw up your data. Make a pie chart using murder through grand larceny auto. Make one pie chart of this, and then make another pie chart of the 2019. Remember, if you're having a hard time highlighting the right spots, right? Just copy and paste it right here for 2019 for 1990, and then copy and paste it over here for the labels, the crime, and the year, right? And then make 2 separate pie graphs, right? Make sure you're making 2 pie charts, not 1, 2. Then you describe each one of them. Task 2, create a multi-column chart, which you guys have seen. We just created one a couple of minutes ago, showing the number of complaints in robbery, burglary, grand larceny, and GLA for 1993 and 2001. Very similar to what we just created, right? But this time you don't have to do it for all of them, just some of them. So you're doing robbery, burglary, basically the last three, right? Robbery, and the reason I gave you that because those are the higher numbers, those are the 100,000 plus. These small numbers are gonna mess up your. It's gonna make it look ugly. The column charts. That's why I said don't do it. Easiest way is just copy the data right here, make a new table, and then just highlight, create it, work offline. Don't miss a beat. Not now. Just do that, and so you're gonna have one chart, right? One chart. It's gonna show all those different um, types of complaints, right? So you should know how many rectangles you should have all together, right? Draw it out, compare it to what we just created. It should look very similar to that in the sense of a style, and make sure you do that in one chart for task 2. Task 3, create a line graph. Now again, this is a line graph, so you're going to be looking at some time, right? So throughout all the years. Line graph, the same type of complaints, right? So robbery, burglary, grand larceny, and grand larceny auto throughout all the years. So you're going to be creating a line graph of all the years, right? So there should be a, you should see a one, you should see how many lines, right? How many things are you doing? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there should be 4 lines, right? Again, remember, just copy and paste the appropriate data set that you're gonna be working with into somewhere around here, and then you could just highlight everything or just follow the steps that we just talked about, right? Don't get mixed up in highlighting everything. You don't need murder, rape, and felony assault. I'm not talking about those. I'm just talking about these 4 right here. So don't do more work than you need to, right? Don't give more data in that table because we're not asking for it, and it's gonna make you lose points if you give more. In this case, more data and more showing more graphs and more adding more stuff, it's not gonna get you more points. It's actually gonna make you lose points. So make sure you're doing the right steps. Lastly, task 4, did you see any noticeable trend when comparing all of these graphs? So now they created 4 essentially 4 graphs, right? 2 pie charts, a column, multi-column chart, and a line graph. When comparing these, did you see any trend? If so, what did you notice? The reason I put that because there are some students that actually just give me a one-word answer. Yes, I did notice a trend without telling me what the trend is. So make sure you tell me what that trend is and why do you think this trend occurred. So it's all within New York City. This is probably way before your time. Not way before, 10 years before your time, because assuming most of you guys are born in the late 1990s, early 2000s. So this starts earlier than that. This starts way before some of you guys are born. So why do you think this happened? Why do you think this trend happened? I'm going to give you a hint. It might have to do with a certain somebody that's on the news a lot these days. And I'm not talking about Donald Trump, essentially, but somebody else that's on the news a lot. So look that up also. Remember, this is all about New York City. This is all New York City data. So crime rate in New York City. Hint, hint. All right. So you're gonna do that. You're gonna submit it on. You're gonna complete it. You're gonna write your name on the work and the assignment, the file name. Agree to the plagiarism. I'm expecting you guys to do your own work. All right. Make sure you're copying and pasting your charts and then describing them, right? That's the first thing I say. Copy and paste the graphs and then describe. Make sure you do that. And then just browse my computer and post it. And then, so that'll be for that. And then discussion board, make sure you do that. And that's essentially it for this week. So if you have any questions, put in the discussion board. Or you could comment on the YouTube video if you want, but a discussion, you will not get points for the YouTube comments. You will get points for the discussion board. So make sure you do that. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday. This Wednesday, if you have any questions, 2 to 3. Remember, that's my office hours, live sessions. consultation hours, whatever you want to call it. It's my time to talk to you guys. So any questions you have that you want to ask me face to face, make sure you attend that. Remember, on the home page, where is it? Live sessions, right here, right? Critical issues on 2 to 3 on Mondays, QR Wednesdays 2 to 3, same Zoom link. Click on that. I'll be there. I'll see you guys, and take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.